Hello, guys. I wanted to talk to you today about this this lawsuit or this case that the Department of Justice brought against Google just last Tuesday, the 20th. So apparently Google came to this agreement with Apple where Google pays somewhere between $8 to $12 billion. And from what I can tell, with the present tense language used in NPR and Business Insider, that this is going to be an ongoing thing, something like $8 to $12 billion. So, an average of let's call it $10 billion a year. And so, what Google gets out of that by paying the $10 billion to Apple is that Apple makes Google their default search engine on Safari, and and it's the same thing with Siri. So if you use the iPhone or a Mac or Siri, Google search will be your default search engine. And and that kind of thing can be changed, but it's been found that most people don't bother to change their search engine. And of course, there really aren't much options besides Bing and Yahoo and DuckDuckGo. DuckDuckGo is probably the most useful one if you want privacy. And this is the first case that's been brought against, the first antitrust case that's been brought against Google since 2013. And that was, I'm not exactly sure why that one was brought against Google, but it was dismissed because Google agreed to change some of their policies. So it's been 7 years since Google's been sued personally a case being brought up by the Department of Justice for antitrust. So, and this kind of thing, they're calling it the biggest antitrust case since the late 90s when this kind of thing happened to Microsoft for anti-competitive behavior, basically pushing their own monopoly, which with Google having some 80% I believe it's over 90%, I read, of search engine use. 90% of searches online through a search engine are done through Google. And really that seems low. I'm pretty sure that most people, that seems low, that it would only be 90%. But, so what we have here is that 8 to 10, it's been called according to Business Insider, that $8 to $12 billion a year. And I say a year, they didn't explicitly use the word annually, but they said it's it's a fifth of Apple's income. So it sounds like, and again, they use the present tense, so it sounds like this is an annual thing. It's an ongoing payment. It's not something set in stone necessarily. According to Google describes this as, and I quote, a cereal brand might pay a supermarket to stock its products at the end of a row or on the shelf at eye level. So Google's saying that them giving money to Apple to place their search engine to place Google search as the default in their various products and on Safari. It's comparable to a cereal brand paying extra to have their cereal at the corner of an aisle and at eye level. And that's I guess you could, I don't know, it's not really a fair comparison because we're not talking about one cereal brand. Doing this to one chain of of grocery stores. We're talking about the cereal brand. You know, Google dominates the Google dominates the search engine field, along with other fields as well. Of course, they own a variety of products and services like Maps and of course YouTube, and they've got their own Google Assistant device, a smart device, or like, you know, that you speak. You know, it's like a home device, whatever I don't know what you would call that, a smart home device, I don't know. But, so they're trying to compare it to a cereal brand paying a grocery store. So that's not really, I mean, in principle, it's similar, but we're talking about the two of the largest billion-dollar tech companies, one paying the other one to promote their content. Is this the worst monopoly of all time? I mean, you know, it's monopolistic, and it's like, it amounts to, you know, I scratch your back, you scratch mine, so to speak. But it's not, I wouldn't call this at the level of, this isn't Standard Oil, Rockefeller level. You know, in those days, you can't, if you were a store owner and you refused to sell exclusively Standard Oil products, Standard Oil would go door to door selling their products at a price that they couldn't possibly make a profit, to the point where you're going out of business unless you sell exclusively Standard Oil products. So we're not at that point with Google, but and who can say what's going to come of this? But this isn't the first time. I mean, even internationally, this kind of thing's been going on. As far as antitrust type suits, for one thing, since 2017, there's been multiple suits from the European Union brought against Google for monopolistic behavior. So we've got Google has been fined by over $7 billion in at least 2 cases by the EU since 2017 for forcing phone makers to install Google Search and Chrome as the default. So you buy a phone in a lot of European countries, like an Android phone, and it has Google Search and Chrome already installed in it. And the EU had a problem with that, so they've sued Google for over $7 billion. So Google's used to this kind of thing, and again, even in America, this isn't the first time it's happened. But we'll see who can say what's going to happen, because we're a week from an election, and this could take months to sort out. So, and these tech companies are slippery when in the means of getting them into court. And of course, there's just the fact that Google really does make a quality product. I mean, their services are top notch. So, is it monopolistic behavior? Sure, but could another company do it better? That's debatable. And their services are popular. So, a lot of people would like to see them reel in what they do, but I mean, I use Google News. Like, I don't know if it's called Google News, but they've got a section where, you click the big G button and you get fed all the news sources you want, all the news sources you like. You vote on, you pick which ones you like and don't like, and they kind of filter your bubble, what you like. Maybe they pepper in some general content of news, but so Google products are popular. Google services are popular, and I suppose their products are too. I mean, I'm talking to you right now by recording on a Google Pixel, so they're obviously huge, and who knows how much bigger they can get, and they'll survive this suit. And it's important that our Department of Justice investigates and files these antitrust lawsuits, because there are plenty of big monopolies. I mean, this isn't the 1960s and 70s where populism was dominant, and or even the days of like Roosevelt, where where he was breaking up banks and oil companies left and right. So we're not at that. We've taken a step towards towards corporatism and monopolies quite a bit since the days of Teddy Roosevelt and the days of Nixon and McGovern running for president. We're a long ways from the early 70s when it comes to, we definitely moved towards monopolistic behavior since then. So it's good to see this kind of thing happening. But again, the 2013 suit was a big win for Google for just having to concede to changing a few of their policies. So I can't imagine it. I'd be surprised if it goes any worse for them. Will they be broken up? I highly doubt it. Google has way too many resources, and I just don't see it happening. Maybe they'll have to change a few of their policies or back off of this move of paying Apple, but again, it's not the worst. It's not the worst monopolistic behavior that we've seen in this country or abroad. So we'll have to see what happens. But anyway, we'll be in touch. Thank you.